People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. Yeah. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Remember when Sheryl Swoopes said this? DeWanna Bonner has finally broken her 6-month Twitter silence. But she didn't just drop a casual, hey, I'm back tweet. Oh no, she made a statement so bold, it rattled the entire WNBA. Not only is she officially joining the Indiana Fever, but she's also dismantling one of the league's most worn-out, unfounded narratives. The claim that Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans are toxic. That narrative, gone, destroyed.
This WNBA offseason killed a lot of narratives, right? It really did. And I hope they're gone for good. And I hope we spend so much less time discussing nonsense. But I think we've seen it stamped out this offseason. And one of those narratives was people wouldn't want to go to the Fever because of the Fever fan base.
You might be thinking, hold up, isn't this the team everyone loves to hate? The one players are supposedly dodging? Well, Bonner's not here for that. She saw the nonsense coming from supposed legend Sheryl Swoopes, the never-ending social media drama, and the same old tired talking points. Instead of staying silent, she's stepping up to set the record straight.
To all the crazy people on social media basically calling her every name under the sun because she chose to play in Indiana. These are the same people that are like, oh, she'll never play in Indiana for obvious reasons. And she went and defended the Indiana fans and was like, talking about, she was basically like, talking positively about the fans that were interacting with her positively, and was responding to one of the crazy posts about her being like, I'm getting screenshots of things you were saying about me. Can you just stop?
Picture this. Bonner casually scrolling through her phone, likely enjoying a peaceful moment, when she comes across yet another wave of misinformation, fans wondering why she'd join Indiana, analysts still holding on to the outdated belief that no one wants to play for the Fever. Instead of brushing it off, Bonner did something way more impactful.
It goes to show you that I think hopefully all that stuff has been put in the rear view, and of course Bonner is a pro.
She didn't just respond, she shut it down with one flawlessly crafted tweet. It wasn't just about defending herself. She went all in for Indiana Fever fans. She basically said, y'all are loud, passionate, and real. That's not toxic. That's what true fandom looks like. And just like that, the conversation was over.
I don't get on here often because this app is insanely too much sometimes. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the love I've received so far. Deaf, not unnoticed. The love is real.
But she didn't stop there. Bonner called out the hypocrisy, shining a light on the double standard and how fan bases are treated differently. Why is it that when fans from other teams show passion, it's called support, but when Indiana Fever fans do the same, it's suddenly an issue? And why is it that when the Fever start winning and getting national attention, all of a sudden, the haters have a problem with the fans? Bonner wasn't just making a personal statement, she was calling out the league-wide bias that shadowed Indiana ever since Caitlin Clark stepped in.
She's gone online for 2 times. One is to call out the crazy people attacking her right now because she joined the Fever.
This isn't just about fan reactions, it's about respect. Something Indiana Fever fans and players have been denied for way too long. And Bonner? She's done letting the lies slide. What makes this even more powerful is that Bonner isn't some young player chasing attention. She's a legend, a multi-time WNBA champion, and one of the most respected figures in the game. When she speaks, the entire league pays attention. This isn't just another player venting on social media. This is a seasoned veteran, someone who's lived through different eras of WNBA history, stepping up to call out the nonsense and stand up for her new team.
You know, Fever fans are probably starving for that. And I think seeing the validation of the players choosing their team.
Bonner made it crystal clear. Indiana isn't some struggling franchise just trying to stay afloat. With Caitlin Clark at the helm, the Fever are building something special. They're not just aiming to be competitive, they're coming for the top teams in the league, and Bonner is all in on that mission. She's not just joining Indiana, she's becoming part of a movement.
And it's funny because if you're seeing like DeWanna Bonner, if you're seeing like Natasha Howard, on social media, Natasha Howard's posts are getting 100 times more likes, and DeWanna Bonner's been reacted more positively probably than she ever has been in her career.
And the best part? The response to her tweet has been huge. Indiana Fever fans are backing her like never before, and the same people who swore nobody wanted to play for Indiana, they're all of a sudden silent. Sheryl Swoopes? Nowhere to be found.
What it do, peeps? Sheryl Swoopes is been missing. Sheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Sheryl Swoopes. If you see Sheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
Now, all that's left is to watch the haters scramble to rewrite history. They'll act like they never claimed Indiana wasn't a desirable team. They'll pretend they weren't downplaying Caitlin Clark's impact. But at this point, it's too late. The Indiana Fever have already won the battle off the court, and now they're gearing up to take it to the court too.
That thank you from DeWanna Bonner, being olive branch to us all to focus on the basketball. But I did think it was worth sharing simply because I know a lot of those fans, the new fans, felt rejected and beaten down a lot. And I think this is symbolic.
DeWanna Bonner, Caitlin Clark, and the Fever aren't just putting together a team. They're rewriting the future of the WNBA. And if the rest of the league isn't paying attention yet, they'll be forced to soon. You've probably heard all the noise about the Indiana Fever fan base, right? The narrative that their fans are supposedly toxic or too intense, and that players are supposedly dodging the team because of it. Well, let's be real here. That storyline fell apart quicker than a bad defensive rotation. And you know who kicked this whole mess off? Alyssa Thomas? Yep, Bonner's own wife was out here stirring the pot, claiming that Fever fans were so unbearable, players wanted nothing to do with Indiana.
In my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it, and we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media.
Here's the plot twist. Despite all that noise, star players aren't running from the Fever. They're running toward them. DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and Sydney Colson didn't just sign with the team. They embraced it. These aren't just role players looking for minutes on a struggling franchise. These are battle-tested veterans and high-impact stars who saw all the headlines about a so-called bad fan base and still said, yeah, I want to be part of that.
No argument that the Fever are a great basketball destination, that Caitlin Clark is a great basketball.
Let's talk numbers, because, as always, they don't lie. Indiana Fever fan engagement is off the charts. We're talking sold-out arenas, merchandise flying off the shelves, and social media interaction hitting record highs. This isn't some struggling franchise barely hanging on. This is a team that's become the pulse of the WNBA, and at the heart of it all is Caitlin Clark. She's not just attracting new fans, she's turning casual viewers into die-hard supporters.
The Fever fan base, being painted with this broad brushstroke, was always just stupid, really. There's no other word for it, because Caitlin Clark brought more fans to the league than it's ever seen. So many of them are Fever fans, and the new fans that come in outnumber the old fans that were already there. You don't want to tell those people they're unwelcome.
Think about how absurd this all sounds. Just a few years ago, Indiana was written off as an afterthought in the WNBA. Now, they're the hottest ticket in town. It's like judging an entire restaurant off one bad Yelp review. It just doesn't make sense. The reality is, Every team's got a few bad apples in their fan base. That's just sports. But to act like Indiana's supporters are some kind of exception, that's just reaching. So what's really going on here? Why are people so quick to attack Fever fans? The answer's simple. Because Indiana is winning. Not just on the court, but in the fight for relevance, attention, and influence. They're no longer an afterthought, and that makes some people uneasy. Instead of acknowledging that Indiana Fever fans are the heart of something special, the haters would rather push this weird, baseless narrative that players don't want to play there.
And a lot of fans, I think, felt unwelcome as a result of that, because when you look at every sport and every fan base, there are going to be bad apples. With every group of people, there are. And the larger that group becomes, of course, then the larger the small percentage of bad apples are. But if you've ever followed sports, you see people acting stupid online or even live at games.
And yet, reality paints a different picture. If Indiana Fever fans were really that bad, why are top-tier players lining up to sign contracts? Would DeWanna Bonner, a multi-time champion, choose to finish her career in a place where she felt unwanted? Would Natasha Howard, a former Defensive Player of the Year, commit to a team with a toxic culture? The answer is clear. These players see something the haters refuse to admit. The WNBA landscape is shifting, and Indiana is right at the center of it. Just a year ago, people laughed at the idea of the Fever being a desirable destination. Now, they're scrambling to figure out how everything changed so fast. Caitlin Clark isn't just a generational talent. She's a headline magnet, a sellout machine, and the kind of player who makes a franchise relevant overnight.
Loyola University basketball coach Sheryl Swoopes, she's under investigation, accused of mistreating players. One of them is speaking out this morning, telling us why she wanted to transfer. ABC's Lindsay Davis is here with the details. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Lara. Sheryl Swoopes was the first woman to ever sign with the WNBA. But this morning, the college coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
They fired her. They didn't just replace Sheryl Swoopes, they booted her out. And why? Because of Caitlin Clark.
There's a lot of other going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going
it's
on
a lot.
around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah,
this year.
now listen.
Months ago, Swoopes sat on her high horse predicting disaster for the Indiana Fever. She, Miss Caitlin Clark, boldly claimed no one would want to play in Indiana and confidently declared that top-tier talent would never sign there.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. As always, appreciate your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's go. So I wanted to do a little bit of a dive into the Fever roster, what that looks like. Now that we've gotten through the bulk of the free agency offseason, we've seen a lot of changes.
Fast forward to today, and the Fever just made the most game-changing free agency move in WNBA history.
The way they came back the second game, it just makes you excited to, okay, I want to be a part of that. They didn't lay down and quit. They came back and actually try to beat us early, that next game. So.
Superstar signings, game changers, and Swoopes.
So y'all can record this, you cannot record it, but the biggest thing I want everybody to hear me say right now.
She's been strangely silent. Ever seen someone talk a big game, then disappear? That's exactly what's going down right now. Indiana just dropped a statement that's sending ripples through the entire league, and we're here to dissect every bit of it.
All right, Hoop Queens, gather around because we've got some major tea brewing in the WNBA. Indiana Fever just landed Brianna Turner in free agency. Brianna Turner, let that sink in.
Before we dive into the good stuff, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Keep up with all the latest WNBA news, expert analysis, and the drama you won't get anywhere else. Now, let's get into it.
But I think you're starting to get a little bit more shine from maybe the casual fan.
and maybe some folks who maybe didn't know or haven't seen Indiana as much as they've seen this year.
I agree.
So what's that part like, you know, getting that little bit more attention and getting a little bit more shine and getting the recognition that...
The Indiana Fever just shook up free agency like never before. They didn't just add players, they built a juggernaut. You know that feeling when you go all out in franchise mode on a video game? Well, that's exactly what Indiana just did. They went all in, loading up their roster with seasoned champions, fierce competitors, and players who've got both game and attitude. This wasn't just another off-season, it was a full-on power play.
Yes. Wait. Yep. You look good on me, huh? Look good. Like a whole 360. Like, I think I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, man, what if I go back to Indiana where I started? That would be crazy. Look where I'm at.
First up, they snagged Natasha Howard, a 3-time WNBA champion and one of the fiercest defensive forces around. Howard doesn't just defend, she shuts players down. Her ability to lock down anyone, protect the rim, and control the boards takes Indiana's defense to a whole new level.
Going for your services, DeWanna, so why was this the right opportunity for you?
I just feel like it was the location for one. My kids are literally right up the road, and I've spent a lot of time away from them, so that and the core that they have here now is just kind of want to fit in, and be another piece of the puzzle, and hopefully bring the energy dynamic and take us to a different level in the playoffs.
Next up, they brought in DeWanna Bonner, a scoring powerhouse who's a nightmare for any defender. Bonner adds leadership, championship pedigree, and that clutch gene that turns the Fever into a serious playoff contender.
In Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever are trading for a multi-dimensional wing, capable of knocking down the 3-ball.
Cunningham is starting to cook. Cunningham 3 is good. Cunningham from the corner.
Locking down defenders.
Several deflections, and this time she gets the steal and the N1 opportunity.
And they weren't finished yet. Enter Sophie Cunningham, a walking spark plug, bold, trash-talking, and always ready to ignite her team and the crowd. She thrives in clutch moments, playing with a chip on her shoulder, exactly the kind of energy Indiana was craving. And to cap it all off, they added Sydney Colson, a seasoned vet with championship DNA, the kind of player who holds it all together behind the scenes. Colson's leadership in the locker room will be just as vital as what she brings on the court. This isn't just a team full of talent, it's a roadmap to success. The Fever didn't sit around waiting for greatness. They went out and created it.
And that's where you brought up the Fever. I think what I've learned in my WNBA experience is pace of play trumps physicality, it trumps size, it can trump experience, because a lot of times when you're experienced, it's really like code word for your veteran, which is code word for your old.
Slow the pace.
Yeah. So I feel like
I know that's why you guys were so good for those
in
years.
2018 and 2020, the years we won, that was our whole mantra, was pace, 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 pace. And what I see in Caitlin...
For months, the media pushed the same old story. Nobody wants to play for Indiana. The franchise was labeled a dead zone, a place elite players wouldn't even think about. Analysts wrote off the Fever, critics laughed off any chance of big signings, and Sheryl Swoopes all but mocked the idea of Indiana drawing in top-tier free agents. To most, the Fever were just another struggling team with no real appeal in the league.
Her face, unable to hit. Bree Jones, another 0 board for Connecticut. Better look for Mabry. Off the mark.
But here we are now. Indiana didn't just sign free agents, they snagged some of the top talent out there. The same team everyone claimed couldn't draw stars just assembled one of the most lethal rosters in the WNBA. Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson. These aren't just bodies filling spots. These are game changers, battle-tested vets, players who could have signed anywhere but chose Indiana. That alone smashes the false narrative about the Fever being a dead-end destination. Now, the same analysts who wrote them off are scrambling. That nobody wants to play there, take, gone, like expired milk. The entire perception of the Fever flipped overnight, and it all boils down to one undeniable truth. They built a culture players want to be part of. With Caitlin Clark in the mix, a front office making bold moves, and a roster that's suddenly one of the league's best, Indiana isn't just back, they're a problem.
Oh, it's a triple-double for Caitlin. What a reaction by Kelsey. Well, how about the knowledgeable fans in this building? They burst out of their seats like it was a game winner.
Let's cut to the chase. This is the Caitlin Clark effect, plain and simple. Caitlin Clark isn't just any rookie trying to find her footing in the league. She's a franchise-changing force. The kind of player who doesn't just lift her team, but redefines the entire WNBA landscape. The Indiana Fever, a team that's been stuck in the mud for years, is suddenly the most talked about squad in the league, and that's no fluke. Clark's arrival has turned this franchise into a destination, one that's not only worth watching, but one that top players actually want to join.
So when you talk about the young girls that came in, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, rookie class, really hyping up the league coming from college to the WNBA, what has that done for you and the buzz of this entire league?
I think it's so positive. I really do. I think it's a fun time to be a part of the W. I truly believe that. I think the skill and the talent has always been there, but now it's just the viewership. And so I give a big old clap to the rookie class. I think that's a lot to deal with when you're at that age and you have that many eyes on you. But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it.
When Sophie Cunningham signed with Indiana, she didn't sugarcoat it. Caitlin Clark was a factor. Players aren't just hearing about Clark's insane shooting range or flashy assists. They're hearing about her leadership, her competitive edge, and her ability to elevate those around her. That's the kind of player you want to play with. She's a magnet, drawing both talent and attention to a team that used to be flying under the radar.
I'm going to use her word. I want to see her continue to be a dog. She is a dog. Here's what I'll say about Angel. I love the fact that she's just her, right? And she says she's unapologetically Angel. She plays hard, both ends of the floor. It doesn't matter what the score is. The thing that I think people question wasn't so much about her game or her rebounding, but it was the scoring. And the fact that she is either averaging or almost averaging a double-double is pretty impressive to do from anybody, but in particular a rookie. I just love how she's come into this league. She's embraced the bumps, the bruises. She's embraced the good with the bad. And I love watching her play because she plays hard the entire game.
Let's talk about Sheryl Swoopes. She thought Clark was overhyped. Just another college standout who'd take years to make her mark in the pros. But the truth? Clark is already leading the league in assists, dropping 40-point games like it's no big deal, and flipping the power dynamics in the WNBA. Indiana isn't just improving, they're becoming a serious threat, and Clark's the one making it happen.
Pin down here, wide open. We might need to update.
Caitlin Clark's impact goes way beyond what's happening on the court. Yeah, she's lighting up defenses and setting records, but what's unfolding off the floor is just as game-changing. She's driving record ticket sales, smashing TV viewership numbers, and getting people to care about the WNBA like never before. Every Fever game feels like an event, and any matchup with Clark, must-watch TV. This isn't just a rising star. This is a movement.
Swoopes has it, turns in the air for the game.
Before becoming one of the most electrifying players in WNBA history,
Sheryl Swoopes was a sensation on the college stage, leading Texas Tech to the 1993 NCAA title with a record-setting 47-point performance in the championship game.
Sheryl Swoopes didn't see this coming. She thought Clark would have to earn her place, struggle, and prove herself over time. Instead, Clark stepped into the league and immediately took it by storm. Now, she's the main reason why the Indiana Fever has become the go-to spot for top-tier talent. Players want to team up with her, coaches want to build around her, and fans can't get enough. The old guard of the WNBA wasn't ready for this, but now they've got no choice but to accept it. For years, the WNBA waited for a player who could change the game, someone who could bring mainstream attention, pack arenas, and spark a real shift in the sport. The truth? That player's already here. Caitlin Clark isn't waiting her turn. She's rewriting the rules in real time.
It's been interesting because since your article dropped, I gotta say, it has got all the buzz. If you are on X, if you're on Instagram, TikTok for the young kids, you know that Caitlin Clark is the Time Athlete of the Year. How has your 24 hours been since the articles dropped?
It's been awesome, and just the reaction. Obviously, people so excited not only about women's basketball, but about women's sports, and how excited and deserving, not only myself, but just women's sports as a whole.
Caitlin Clark just became the first WNBA player to claim Time's Athlete of the Year, but not everyone is joining the celebration. It's become increasingly clear she has her share of haters, from Sheryl Swoopes, Aja Wilson, to Nalissa Smith, Diana Taurasi, and sadly, the list doesn't end there.
Sheryl, I'll start with you. What's your reaction to Caitlin Clark winning Time Magazine Athlete of the Year?
I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were.
In a twist that's both startling and yet oddly predictable, Sheryl Swoopes, four-time WNBA champion and now Clark's most outspoken critic, had plenty to say about the athlete's recent win. In today's segment, we'll break down the controversy, examine the backlash, and uncover the unexpected way Clark is handling it all. While Clark had the perfect moment to fire back, she chose a different route, leaving everyone utterly speechless. Here's why her response is a masterclass in grace and leadership.
And I've grown up a huge women's sports fan, whether it was basketball, whether it was soccer, whether it was volleyball, you go down the list. Like, I grew up loving it and watching it, so it's pretty special. Like, it doesn't really feel real that I get to be here, but an amazing honor.
Imagine this: Caitlin Clark riding high after earning Time Athlete of the Year, yet not everyone's raising a glass. Enter Sheryl Swoopes, former WNBA superstar turned unforeseen critic, stirring up drama on the Gills Arena podcast.
The fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year is pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on the game this season?
Rather than praising Clark, Swoopes launches into a full-on tirade, openly challenging the very standards used to grant Clark her title. "I'm trying to understand what the criteria is," she says, her voice laced with disbelief. And she doesn't stop there. Swoopes rattles off a list of other contenders she believes should have earned the honor instead. The whole thing feels like a slow-motion train wreck, leaving fans and analysts alike puzzled and asking what's really at play.
This is just probably just the impact of the sport, a little bit of it's a little bit of everything, right? So,
yeah, I mean,
when you think about, you just think about athletes of this year.
Yeah.
It's her, the swimmer.
What swimmer?
For Olympics.
Katie Ledecky.
Her performance.
Shit, you
know,
can put Simone Biles back in there.
You can put her back in there. Probably LeBron from his Olympics.
As we delve further into Swoopes' remarks, a pattern starts to form. This isn't her first time taking aim at Clark. When Clark shattered the NCAA scoring record, Swoopes was quick to downplay it, questioning whether the accomplishment was all that remarkable given how much the game has evolved since the original milestone was set.
Put Asia Wilson in there.
That was just basketball.
So that's what I'm saying. Was it just the performance on the court, or
It's global.
else?
I think it's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
What about Wilson? She demands, leaving everyone listening in stunned silence. Is this just a careless slip, or is there something more simmering beneath the surface? Swoopes' outburst lays bare a deeper struggle. It's not only about Clark now, it's the old guard facing off against the new era, tradition clashing with the future of women's basketball. Once the sport's leading figure, Swoopes now watches from the sidelines as Clark captivates a whole new generation of fans.
It just keeps putting a light on the sport for everybody else to eat. And, sometimes, just as athletes, we are competitive by nature. And, we don't like when someone's getting something that we don't think they deserve.
The basketball world is left stunned. Swoopes, once a beacon of inspiration for countless young athletes, including a young Caitlin Clark, now appears bitter and disconnected. Her remarks ignite intense debates online, with fans and players alike taking sides. Yet here's the ironic twist. While Swoopes questions Clark's merit, Clark's star power only intensifies. Her record-breaking performances and swelling fan base speak volumes. The contrast is glaring. One athlete clinging to the past, the other blazing a trail into the future of women's basketball.
Well, it's been a crazy year. It's hard to think about. I was basically just starting my senior year of college at this time last year. And then I graduated. I missed my college graduation, got drafted here in New York City, basically moved right to Indianapolis and basically start a whole new chapter of your life instantly, and you don't really have much time to adjust. But lucky enough, I had a really great support system and family around, and I'm from the Midwest, so didn't take me too long, but this past year has just been amazing.
How does Clark tackle this sudden wave of criticism? Does she lash out, stoking the flames? Or does she remain poised under pressure? Her approach to this conflict won't just shape her legacy, it could help reshape the entire landscape of women's basketball. Buckle up, because Clark is about to reveal the depths of her character.
It's fun to reflect back and think about all the amazing things that I was able to accomplish and the people that I got to do it with. I think that's what's made it so special is I've had my family with me the whole time, my friends, amazing teammates, amazing coaches, and it wouldn't be possible without all of them, so just really fortunate.
Remember when we said Clark was about to show us what she's made of? Well, her response to the Time Award controversy isn't just surprising, it's genuinely groundbreaking. She's redefining what leadership looks like in women's basketball. While Swoopes cast doubt, Clark continues to smash records and win over fans' hearts. How does she handle the criticism? Does she shoot back? Not at all. Clark takes the high road, and that choice has everyone talking.
The number of Indiana Fever fans I saw in young girls and the way they were lighting up, you have represented something so special for the sport, but you've drawn eyes to a game that you've always grown up loving. What does that mean to you?
It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm so focused and so competitive, and I love the game. I love playing. I love being in front of the fans. But over the course of probably the last 2.5 years, it's all kind of changed where, it's hard to get a ticket whether we're at home or whether we're on the road.
In her Time interview, Clark doesn't merely shrug off the controversy. She faces it head on with a level of maturity that's capturing everyone's attention. Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom has been accompanied by a refreshing sense of self-awareness.
A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then you continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing.
But Clark doesn't stop there. She makes a point of recognizing the legends who laid the groundwork for her success. And guess who she gives credit to? Sheryl swoops herself. It's a move that proves Clark isn't just an elite talent on the court, she's a class act off it as well.
Thoughts on Caitlin Clark saying she wants to use her platform to elevate black women in the WNBA have been instrumental, obviously, in building that league to what it is. Okay.
So what's the
Clark's reply? It's more than simply rising above the fray. It's a masterclass in handling criticism with grace, transforming a potentially negative moment into something uplifting. She's not just standing up for her own achievements, she's raising the bar for the entire dialogue surrounding women's basketball.
I remember my first WNBA game, one of the best memories of my childhood, and I think very influential in wanting to be a professional basketball player, wanting to be a great person, having those people to look up to and want to be like one day. So I just try to embody that every single day, and I feel like I have good perspective on, like, basketball isn't my everything. Like, yeah, I love it and I get to do it, and it's given me a lot of really great opportunities, but at the same time, you know, win or loss, I feel like I try to be the same person.
The contrast between Clark's approach and Swoopes' remarks couldn't be more stark. While Swoopes questions and criticizes, Clark chooses to celebrate and uplift. This strategy isn't just winning her new fans, it's quieting her critics in the most impactful way possible. Don't mistake Clark's kindness for weakness, though. Her words carry real weight, and her actions speak volumes. She's showing that you don't have to tear others down to elevate yourself. In fact, by paying tribute to those who came before her, Clark is securing her own legacy in basketball history.
Know how you feel or how you respond to some of those criticisms when you have to deal with something that it's really not your problem. Like, I feel like it's them looking in a mirror a little bit, but it still comes down on your shoulders.
I feel like I always have had really good perspective on everything that's kind of happened in my life, whether that's been good, whether that's been bad. And then obviously coming to the WNBA, like I've said, I feel like I've earned every single thing that's happened to me over the course of my career.
As the controversy fades, one truth stands out. Clark's handling of the situation has transformed what could have been a divisive episode into a moment of unity for women's basketball. She's demonstrated that it's possible to be both a fierce competitor on the court and a gracious leader off it. But the story doesn't end here. Clark's poised response has paved the way for a much broader conversation. How will the rest of the basketball community react to this display of sportsmanship and class? Stay tuned, because the reactions are about to roll in, and they may just surprise you.
But also, I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. Like, my favorite player was Maya Moore. Like, I know what this league was about. And like I said, like, it's only been around 25 plus years. So I know there's been so many amazing black women that have been in this league, and continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important. And that's something I'm very aware of. And like I said, like, I try to just be real and authentic and, you know, share my truth. And I think that's very easy for me. Like, I'm very comfortable in my own skin. And that's kind of been how it is my entire life.
Clark's triumph and Swoopes' critique didn't just grab headlines. They sparked a wildfire of debate across the basketball landscape. Opinions are swirling at lightning speed, faster than one of Clark's signature three-pointers, and everyone wants their say. Let's break down the reactions. On Clark's side, a whole army of supporters has turned up. Fans are flooding social media with admiration for the rising star, applauding her poise under pressure and calling out Swoopes for what they view as a bitter backlash. As one fan tweeted, Clark's response shows she's already a legend in the making. Swoopes could learn a thing or two about sportsmanship.
And you'll never be able to make everyone happy. And someone that knows that at the age of 22, like, let's go.
I mean, I think I have good perspective on that. And like I said in the article, which turned out amazing, I thought it was great. I said, I feel like one of my best skills is just blocking things out. Like, I don't really, the only opinions I really care about are the people that I love, my teammates, my coaches, the people inside of our locker room, the people that I see every single day, and I know have my best interests at heart too.
How will all this drama shape Clark's future in the WNBA? That's the million-dollar question. Some believe the controversy might heap extra pressure on her next season. Others argue it's only adding fuel to her competitive fire, potentially setting the stage for a dominant sophomore year and maybe even an MVP run. But here's what nobody can dispute. Clark's influence is undeniable. WNBA ticket sales are soaring, and television ratings for women's college basketball have never been higher. Even viewers who've never followed the women's game are tuning in just to watch Clark play. The numbers don't lie. Clark isn't merely a player, she's a phenomenon, and she's redefining the landscape of the sport.
I'm just scratching the surface of the things I want to accomplish, and I'm 22. I'm still figuring out life. I'm still figuring out where everything's going to go, and I love basketball, and basketball has brought me so many amazing things, and that will continue to be probably my first passion and everything that I enjoy. And hopefully once basketball ends, I can still find things that I'm really passionate about and can do. Hopefully be an owner of a sports team one day, or open a restaurant. I don't know. Something fun. A little less stressful, maybe. Maybe a coffee shop or something. I don't know.
Clark's impact isn't just about one award or one controversy. It's about the future of the game. While some question the criteria behind her Time Athlete of the Year win, Clark's response, acknowledging the greats who came before her, even Sheryl Swoopes, has been a masterclass in grace and leadership. Instead of firing back, she's elevating the conversation. Her style of play, highlighted by long-range shooting and raw emotion, is inspiring young athletes to pick up a basketball and believe in their own potential. Fans are tuning in like never before, and ticket sales and TV ratings reflect her growing influence. Clark's authenticity off the court, making time for fans and remembering what it's like to be the kid in the crowd, resonates on a personal level. This isn't just about Clark and Swoopes, it's about the entire trajectory of women's basketball. The sport stands at a crossroads, balancing respect for its legends with the rise of new stars who are redefining what's possible. Clark's story is bringing more attention, more debate, and more excitement to the WNBA. She's not merely breaking records, she's reshaping perceptions, inspiring a new generation, and turning the spotlight onto women's basketball like never before. As we watch Clark's journey unfold, it's clear the game is evolving before our eyes. Her rise signals a new era, one in which women's sports command center stage and future players dream even bigger. The sport will never be the same, and that's exactly the point.
What it do, peeps? Sheryl Swoopes is been missing. Sheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Sheryl Swoopes. If you see Sheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
Sheryl Swoopes really missed the mark this time. With a bold stance and a voice full of certainty, she boldly claimed that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were doomed to fail in attracting top-tier free agents. But fast forward, and the Fever just pulled off one of the most impressive free agency hauls the league has ever seen. As for Sheryl, well, she's now the human equivalent of a malfunctioning Magic 8 ball, constantly wrong every step of the way.
People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some
So
new shit going
it's
on
a lot.
around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Let's hit rewind for a second. Sheryl Swoopes, Hall of Famer, basketball icon, no doubt. But these days, she's clocking in full-time as a professional skeptic, putting in some serious overtime. With all her experience, she boldly declared that the Fever would never land elite players because of supposed locker room drama. And yet, here we are, contracts signed, deals sealed, and Indiana just built a powerhouse. Meanwhile, Sheryl's left watching from the sidelines, looking a little foolish, probably brainstorming her next questionable hot take.
Stephanie White came in and said, okay, hold up. Let me go to Indeed.com and Indeed get some free agents to come in here that want to play, that are accomplished, seasoned veterans. She did all that. Sheryl's been nowhere to be found. Sheryl got a lot of crow to eat, folks. Sheryl could be choking on crow right now. She need that Heimlich maneuver. If you see Sheryl Swoopes, tell her it's okay to come out and talk and say, man, you was wrong. It's okay.
I can picture Sheryl scrolling through her phone like, no way these players picked Indiana. But surprise, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, and even A'ja Wilson's best friend, Sydney Colson, are all in the Fever. They didn't just win free agency, they absolutely cooked it. And when Colson was asked why she signed with Indiana, let's roll the footage.
Yeah, I talked to Sydney Colson today about her signing with Indiana. She said that Kelsey Mitchell was actually the first person she hit up because they built a bond here, playing AU for the last 3 years. She said she heard some good things about Caitlin Clark from her Aces teammate Kate Martin as well, so that made the decision easy.
Exactly. She was drawn to playing alongside Kelsey Mitchell, a longtime friend, and the rising star, Caitlin Clark. These were the very two players Sheryl Swoopes wrote off just months ago. And here's the kicker. This is the same Sheryl who said Caitlin Clark would need years to get used to the WNBA. Years? Seriously? Clark's out here casually dropping 40 points like it's nothing, while Swoopes' predictions are aging about as well as spoiled milk.
3 WNBA MVPs in your career. Would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
I can't. Bro, Sheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant.
At this point, it feels like hating on Caitlin Clark has become Sheryl Swoopes' personal Olympic event, and she's snagging gold. Actually, she's probably sweeping the entire podium, gold, silver, and bronze, looking all kinds of salty while the anthem plays. Oh, Caitlin won't make the leap to the WNBA. Well, someone should let Indiana know, because they're out here stacking elite talent like they're building an all-star team. Caitlin Clark isn't just finding her footing, she's dominating, and the Fever are right there with her. Maybe it's time for Sheryl Swoopes to take a back seat, because Indiana just gave her a reality check.
No, but players who will be free agents next year, there's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Let's not fool ourselves. The real reason some of these WNBA vets and self-proclaimed legends can't stand Caitlin Clark is because she didn't play by their rules. She didn't wait her turn or ask for permission to stand out. Nah, she waltzed in, shattered 62 records in her rookie season, embraced the fans, and took the sport to new global heights. And, oh, does that sting for them? You bet it does.
The Indiana Fever are that golden destination, and I can't help but laugh to the fans and the people online and the media commentators, unfortunately, who said that nobody wanted to play in Indiana. That doesn't make any sense.
Caitlin Clark didn't need anyone's approval to claim her spot as the face of women's basketball. She's got more global recognition than half the league combined, and that's not by accident. That's the power of being a generational talent. Sheryl Swoopes, Angel Reese, A'ja Wilson, and the rest of the Caitlin haters are just going to have to live with it. While they're busy throwing shade, Caitlin is out here racking up accolades, selling out arenas, and making the Indiana Fever the hottest ticket in town. And let's take a moment to appreciate this. The Indiana Fever, the team once overlooked by everyone, are now the center of the basketball world. The former league underdog is now the squad every player wants to join. Now that's what you call shifting the entire landscape.
You know, a lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
So, Sheryl, what happened to that claim about players not wanting to go to Indiana? Who exactly were you talking to? The ghosts of teams long gone? Because real, relevant players are lining up to join the Fever like it's the VIP section of an exclusive club. Did she honestly think Caitlin Clark would have to beg anyone to team up with her? let's be real here.
Went even further when a game that Sheryl Swoopes was calling for the Dallas Wings, where the commentator was talking about how great Caitlin Clark had been playing. Sheryl Swoopes, silent for 60 seconds, didn't even want to address it. And it got so bad that the game that Dallas then went to play against the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark, after the domination of the Chicago Sky, Sheryl Swoopes got pulled from the broadcast.
Someone better check on Sheryl, because she's clearly stuck in 2002 when the Fever were stumbling through mediocrity like it was some kind of team-building drill. Sis, things have shifted. This isn't Tamika Catchings trying to lift a squad of part-time gym teachers. The Indiana Fever are stacked now. Natasha Howard, a champion, defensive powerhouse, and certified scorer. Here's what she had to say when she signed on with the team.
It's going to be Caitlin Clark Flash Show. So it's going to be phenomenal playing with a point guard, like you said, that have a good vision on the court. Because that's like, as soon as she get the ball in her hand, she's throwing it up because she already see the person down the court before she even get the ball in her hand. So that's one thing I love about her vision on the court. I really can't wait to catch all those passes and give her all the assists that she needs.
DeWanna Bonner, standing tall at 6 feet 4 inches, a walking mismatch, an elite scorer, and a key player in the WNBA's top tier. And guess what? She just fired back at all the Fever doubters on Twitter. Then there's Sophie Cunningham, bringing the heat, the confidence, and enough smack talk to shake any arena. So, who did she want to team up with?
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I've never really, I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. And I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
And Sydney Colson, whether she's logging major minutes or not, is about to transform the Fever locker room into the most fun, high-energy space the team has ever seen. The chemistry? Off the charts. Do we sense a trend here? They all chose Indiana. They all decided to play with the core group of Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull. So while Sheryl Swoopes is busy crafting her next misguided hot take, the Fever are out here building a dynasty. Maybe it's time someone hands Sheryl a pair of glasses because she might be talking about the wrong team. Could she be referring to the Las Vegas Aces, the Chicago Sky, or the Connecticut Sun, all of which seem to be falling apart? The Fever are here, and they're not just showing up. They're taking over.
You know that I'm very excited, and I really agree with a lot of the moves the Indiana Fever have made. There's not been one trade or pickup that the Indiana Fever have made that I have not been on board with. I'm on board with every single one. And I just want to say the fact that the Indiana Fever have gone out and got these great players like a Natasha Howard, like a DeWanna Bonner, like a Sophie Cunningham, the fact that they've gone out and got these great players shows that they believe Caitlin Clark is great right now. They are on board with the Caitlin Clark vision, and it just makes me happy, because they're not treating Caitlin Clark like a rookie who is going to be good in 10 years. No, they're treating her like a superstar who is good right now.
Sheryl Swoopes really thought she was dropping some major insights on the Gills Arena podcast. She hopped on the mic like she was about to spill top secret info, but all she ended up revealing was just how much her credibility has taken a hit. At this point, are we even shocked? Sheryl's out here throwing out hot takes like it's her side hustle, and if there were a Hall of Fame for terrible opinions, she'd be a first ballot, unanimous pick.